Wade Wilson ruthlessly stole the lives of two innocent women, and at the same time, he seems to have stolen the hearts and gotten a fan club out of it. We're going to talk about Wade Wilson, his case, and the trial in today's video. Y'all, it is almost fall and it is one of my favorite times of year. I absolutely love getting out in the yard and doing yard work, doing that last, grass cutting, getting the yard all squared away, all that type of stuff, and all the smells that go with that transition of the year. And another thing that I absolutely love about this time of year is that Drift has bottled it up and sold that smell for all of you. Okay, y'all, so let's see what the scent of the month is. Look at this. I love the packaging. Y'all, oh my gosh, they already know. They already know. Apple Orchard. It is right in time for the season. Oh my goodness. Crisp apple, cinnamon, autumn leaves, birch wood, you name it. Y'all, this is perfect. I know this is gonna smell amazing. Y'all, stop it. Look, oh my God, look at y'all. Look at this, it's the stone. Oh my God. Y'all, oh my God, it smells like in a good way, the state fair and the memories as a child. Oh my gosh, just that time in life where it's like, you don't have any cares and the season's changing. Oh my gosh, y'all. And it looks so fancy. So what is Drift, you might be asking? Well, I'm about to tell you, so buckle your seatbelts. So Drift is rethinking traditional car fresheners. They do this in such a unique way. Now, one of the things they offer is the piece of wood that you've seen me with or whatever. If you follow me, I've worked with them for a while. I absolutely love this company. So they do that. Or like what I got this month, y'all, their stone version. Look at that design. It's very modern. And it smells amazing. So Drift is a super affordable subscription. So first they give you in your opening package or whatever, you get that clip, the scent, and then you get monthly refills where you can try the new scents. One thing that's awesome about this is like the smell blindness, if you will. Once you get used to it, there's like another one on its way. But I will say this, these last for a long time. They only use premium essential and fragrance oil blends. It doesn't have all that harmful chemicals that traditional fragrance companies use. They use sustainably resources and essential oils, vegan, cruelty-free, and pet-friendly. Yeah. Now, some people might say, I have a problem with all this Drift all up in my car, but I don't got no problem. Why? Because it is super affordable. Literally, people don't even believe me when I tell them how low the monthly cost is on this. And with it being a subscription, subscription stuff usually like super expensive. Not Drift. They hook you and the Sofa Squad up. So scan the QR code or use my code MySofa55. Y'all, it's gonna get you 55% off your first month at Drift. Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. Sofa's back there. It's starting to be a little fallish around the sofa. My name is Paul if you're new to the channel. Now what we're going to be speaking about today is going to be Wade Wilson, aka the TikTok killer, aka the Deadpool killer, all the things, right? And we'll go into a little bit of the little overview of it, but this is meant to be a deep dive. Now I will say this, literally there's probably not one little speck of this case that isn't over the top. So what I've done with this video is I'm mostly going into the dynamics that stuck out to me or that I got a lot of feedback in email or comments, DMs, whatever, of people like, oh hey, what about this part, what about this part, that type thing. And then again, just like from where I went down the rabbit hole on it. The case has wrapped up at this point in time. And when I say wrapped up, he's been sentenced, the whole 9 yards, right? However, this is one of those that keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. More and more jail phone calls are released, this, that, the other. There's conspiracies, there's this, you name it. It's one of those cases, okay? So I will ask in the comment section, please everybody understand that everybody has differences of opinions and just be nice to the Sofa Squad and amongst each other, which y'all usually are, but I know this case can be, from what I've seen, it's kind of like, a little bit volatile, we'll just say. Now also on that note, this is, deals with a lot of violence, a lot of like senseless violence. So if that is bothersome to you, then this video is probably not going to be for you. Now, what I want to do is just start the video off, start the whatever off, talking about the most important piece of it, and that are are his two main victims. So Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz would both lose their lives to Wade in a very short amount of time, almost back to back of each other. These two women did not know each other. Now, at the time of the crime, Wilson is 25. Now, he meets Christine Melton, she's 35, and her friend Stephanie Sailors. This is October 7th, 2019. They're at the Buddha Live. This is a Fort Myers bar. Now, what had happened is this, is Wade and his girlfriend at the time, they go out to this bar, they're hanging out, they get in an argument, whatever, okay? Wade ends up taking said girlfriend's car, leaves these people, right? Basically ditches her. We will hear and talk about a little bit more in depth later on, like the girlfriend Mila's friends and all that, what she ended up doing. But for now, just know that that's how he ends up, and that's how this kind of kicks off, okay? We'll also hear from Wade in some of the phone calls we're going to go over, him talking about allegedly why he did this and what prompted everything that evening. One thing that will be prominent in this is that Wade obviously has some behavioral issues, and allegedly when he does substances and whatnot of a particular type, rhymes with Beth, okay, but isn't Beth, okay, you know what I'm saying. Apparently he gets pretty crazy and whatnot. So now that is what he's saying. You know, he could be this way just normally, but it sounds like him as well as a couple other people say once he gets on this, things definitely go to the left, okay? So just know that. Let's keep going down this quick little timeline though. So the bar closes, like I said, this little argument ensues, whatever. So the two women, they go home. Also, they are going home to somebody named Jason Shepard. So they all, Wade, two women, Jason, they all end up going over there. They're hanging out at this house, they're partying, they're doing this, but it becomes a little bit drama over there, whatever. And so they kick it. So Wilson, Melton, and Sailors go to Christine's house. This is Cape Coral, right? So they're hanging out, they're doing all this. Now, we will hear from the friend, and she's basically like, you know what? There was no signs of trouble. I never would have left if I felt like there was going to be drama or whatever, but, you know, I felt like assured from my friend, everything, like it's okay, whatever. So there's hooking up, there's all sorts of stuff going on, right? So allegedly, and again, at this point, nobody's going to ever know what really went down except for Wade, because the only other person is no longer here to say. Allegedly, she goes to sleep. He then comes back in, he stays up and gets on top of her and chokes her out. Okay, so no rhyme or reason or whatever, okay? Then he's going to take her car and kick it down the road. Now, this is where, when he has the car, he leaves, he will end up running into Diane Ruiz, but before he does that and gets the next victim, he makes a pit stop, okay? Now, we'll get a little bit more in depth about the pit stop, but just know that the pit stop involves his then girlfriend, Mila. He goes over, he meets her at a spa, he brutally assaults this woman. Okay, this is broad daylight. We're going to get more into the details of that. Has this interaction. You know, remember, he's got her car, he's got this, he's got that. She is very lucky to be alive, okay? So this interaction happens. She is able to escape him, basically, okay? He continues on. Now, this is where, unfortunately, a woman by the name of Diane, she's 43, she's walking to work, will encounter Wade. Now, again, nobody knows how this went down except for Wade. According to Wade, she's asking for directions and just willingly hops in his car. So he's driving her down the road and just randomly reaches over and chokes her out. He will describe this a little bit differently, but it is what it is. So he does this. Obviously, he has his body, he has his purse, he has her stuff, whatever. He has to get rid of her. So, and again, we'll get more in depth with this. He basically finally finds a place to get rid of her. He gets rid of her and then says, oh God, she's still alive, and proceeds to run over her multiple times until she looked like spaghetti. Those are his words. Now, after this, Wade's going to end up at home. He breaks into a house, whatever. He calls his father Steve. Again, we'll get more in depth with the Steve thing and like what he had to say in some interviews he's done and all that kind of stuff. But he talks to his dad, Steve, and he essentially is going to Steve and saying like, I need help. I got to get out of here. I've done these horrible things, whatever, and, you know, help me out. And Steve, who in the past has always come to his son's rescue, he's basically like, my son's recounting this story that's really, really horrible, and my son sounds very, very excited over it. So Steve is faced with the difficult decision of having to turn his son in, and this is what he does. So instead of doing the Uber, he gives detectives who have already reached out to him saying, we need to talk to your son. He gives the information, and this all collides, and they are able to apprehend Wade. Okay, so that's like the quick little timeline of it. Now let's start revisiting parts of that before we get into like the trial and things of that nature. Let's go back to Mila because we're gonna hear phone calls from her. We're gonna hear testimony, all this kind of stuff, right? Now remember, this is his girlfriend at the time. She will become a prominent key figure in this. So remember, they go out to the bar, they have this incident, whatever. She leaves. Now this is where like the next day she's like, look, I need my stuff back. I've got to do all this stuff. Like, where's my car? Where's my things? Where's this? Her friend had said, yes, you can come. She's like, look, let him go with these people. You come to my place. You stay the night, right? So when Mila's trying to arrange this the next day and her friend will say in the stand, she was like, oh, Wade's going to come over. And the woman was like, absolutely not. Okay. She was like, I have a son in this house. I don't know him. No, this man is not coming here. Thank God she made that decision, okay? More power to her. So this is when she's like, I'm going to take you to Wade, okay? There you go. And this is where this massive brawl takes place. Wade will attack her and beat her like she is a full-grown man, okay? And her friend will say, this is broad daylight, okay? And when asked on the stand, they're like, well, did anyone try and help or whatever? She was like, it happened so fast, right? Like literally, like bam, okay? And so she said that once Wade had her against the wall and like punched her in the face, her nose explodes, blood goes everywhere. This is when he's like, oh, I gotta go, okay? Remember, he's got one murder behind him, okay? He stops him for here. 100% he would kill her too. 100%, right? Because Wade will also tell her later on the phone when you hear it, I was cracked out basically on Bethany, okay? So that's what, charge of the game kind of a thing, but that's what it does to me. So let's keep going. Now, one of the things that's interesting, again, we'll hear some of this, is Mila in these jailhouse phone calls will be like, why did you kill this woman? She'll get into it. Now, to give us an idea of what this vibe was like, let's take some look at the footage that was done, the body cam footage from a cop who saw Wade, who had an interaction with him before, kind of like in this interim of the attack on Mila. So let's look at some clips from this. I put like a little montage of them so you can get the vibe, and then we'll talk about it.
You're waiting on your girlfriend? Oh, okay. That's no problem. No, I got a call. Somebody was sitting in their car and everything like that. So. Oh, okay. She's on her way now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Wait, you don't want any trouble for me, okay? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to have you step out of the car, and I'm going to detain you. Not arrest. Detain you right now, okay? And I can't have any problems. You understand me? All right. I have to detain you. By our procedures, I have to detain you. Because of the battery this morning. There wasn't any battery? L41, gonna need a couple more units. Don't go anywhere. Hey.
Okay. Right there, y'all, this is why I could never be a cop, because like my adrenaline is going so much just watching that from the comfort of the sofa. Okay? From the cop. Like the whole thing, number one, I'm like, oh no, this isn't suspicious at all, right? Sitting there shirtless, window half rolled down, reaching out, talking to him. Now what the cop is basically saying is they get this call, this battery, whatever. Obviously, Wade, like he's fitting the description, all this kind of stuff. So the cop's like trying to talk to me. It's like, well, we have to detain you. And Wade, I mean, I can't hear him, but it's essentially like, this isn't going to happen. And then you see him drive off. Now, this is the shocker, right? And this is the heartbreaking part, too. Let's listen to the detective on the stand explain what takes place, like, after this. We see him driving off.
What does that mean?
That I only had misdemeanor battery at the time.
Yes, sir.
So, therefore, there was no probable cause to continue any type of pursuit or have any other officers try to locate him at the time because of the nature of the offense we were dealing with.
And there you go. They just had to be like, charge of the game. And let him go. Not worth the pursuit. And sadly, we know now at this point what takes place after that. And on that note, let's go back to the victims again for a minute. And let's hear and talk about some of the testimony on the stand and learn about who they were as people. So Christine's cousin, Samantha, she would testify that Christine was the godmother to her child. She made people feel good, safe, understood. She said that she was a cat lover. She was a great friend. Now, Diane, she was the mother of 2 sons, and we would hear from them on the stand, and it was very heartbreaking. I mean, y'all, it was so sad. And that's what happens in these cases where, these people are just ripped from their own lives, and, they have loved ones that, were looking forward to things and, life moments and whatnot. And in fact, her one son, Romero, he was getting ready to make his debut in the marching band. And he knew that he, never got to see her face in the crowd, and that she'd never be able to see him married, just kind of going over these like monumental type things that would never happen. But the thing about the marching band, it gives me goosebumps right now, where I'm like, oh my God, looking out in that crowd and knowing that, the circumstances of what took place or whatever, it's absolutely just monstrous and heartbreaking. Now, one of Diane's friends, her co-workers and whatnot, co-worker friend, whatever, she's like, look, she never missed a shift at the bar. She was literally like the center. To quote her, she said Diane was the heartbeat of the bar. Again, to quote her, she always had anybody's back. She just had that personality that was really magnifying. She had this really loud laugh that you could hear like a mile away. But then you have to ask, hearing about these 2 women, hearing about the randomness of it, what's the reason? Why? What is the reason behind it, okay? The state will allege that basically no other reason than the act of killing, okay? And in fact, let's take this time to look at a little bit of the opening arguments.
Christine Melton was 35 years old when she died. She was found in her South Cape Coral residence, wrapped in some bedding, tied with some shirts and leggings and a bathing suit top. Her face was black and blue. Her fingernails were broken. She had marks around her neck as she lied on the floor between her bedroom and the kitchen area of her residence. Diane Ruiz was 43 years old. She was found on an empty lot under some shrubs, under a tree, just lying there. Her nose had been broken. Her hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage had been broken. She had suffered multiple rib fractures, not only front, but also in the back.
I mean, and this is just, glossing over the horrendousness of the crimes. And this right here makes me think of a couple of things. And first of all, let's start with Diane, the secondary victim in this, or the second victim, I should say. When he said, her nose was broken, literally in my mind, again, this is sofa speculation here, in my mind, I'm envisioning Wade driving and just literally sucker punching her. You know what I mean? To like kind of just whatever, scare her, whatever, and then choking her out. Whatever took place in the car, right? Now, you heard about the multiple injuries. Remember, he ran over her numerous times. Christine, to me, it sounds like she struggled. There was a fight, again, I went in there when she was asleep or whatever. Really? Imagine the realization of these 2 women in the moment of realizing this is it. This is it. This is, my life ends here.
Now, what you're going to learn during the course of this trial, ladies and gentlemen, is that Miss Ruiz and Miss Melton had 3 things in common. Both of them died on the 7th of October of 2019. Both of them had been strangled. And both of them, before they were forever silenced, the last person that they encountered was Mr. Wade Wilson.
Now, one thing to note here is the expression on Wade's face throughout this, not to mention his clothing and whatnot, and we'll go to a little bit more into those things here in a minute when I talk about just different dynamics that stuck out to me. But just as we watch some of these clips and whatnot, just keep in your mind, if you didn't watch the trial and whatnot, the look on his face, this kind of like little smirk that he has. It's haunting.
And what we also know is that she died as a result of blunt force trauma because of the multiple rib fractures. And if you want to believe what Mr. Wilson told law enforcement was that he had driven over her repeatedly and tried to make her look like spaghetti.
Again, we're going to hear multiple testimony about the spaghetti comment. Imagine her when he gets there and, oh, she's still alive. You know, one of the things that haunts me with her murder is wondering and hoping that she didn't feel that she wasn't aware of it. Because I'm sitting here thinking, imagine somebody like literally strangles you to the point that you're like, you come to a little enough to be like, you're barely hanging on to life. And then your next realization is you're being run over multiple times. Just the fact of getting run over, number one, imagine how horrible that feels. Multiple times. I cannot.
While that was happening, law enforcement is conducting an investigation. They knew who he was. They were researching, trying to figure out who his next point of contact would be. They'd already reached out to his dad. They needed to know where his whereabouts are. Dad tells them, you know, he's conflicted. It's his son, right? But when he starts describing what he had done, he describes it in such a way where he's bragging. He wants his dad to feel that excitement. It made his dad sick. His dad gets the address, tells him, yeah, I'm going to send you an Uber, passes that information along to the marshals. Marshals descend on that particular location.
But how does somebody end up doing this kind of stuff and arrive there? Well, he doesn't seem to have always been this way. So let's talk about some of his childhood things going on. So first of all, Wade was adopted. His dad, and we'll get more into this as we learn more about his father and some interviews that his dad did, but just very quickly, his father and so his bio mom and dad had him when he was very young. When they were very young, I'm sorry. Yeah, when he was very young. I would hope so, right? So they had him when they were young, like I'm talking like 15, 14, like that age. So there was a friend of the bio mom's parents at church that wanted to adopt a boy. So this kind of all just took place to where it worked out for Wade to get adopted by this couple. Very nice couple. The father speaks very highly of them. Well, at some point during Wade's childhood, things would just start going downhill for him, right? Now, let's look at an article that talked to some classmates of his just to get a little bit of a texture of like maybe what his childhood was like. So you'll see his photograph up here of his yearbook photos compared to his photos now, like obviously with all the tattoos and whatnot. Very big contrast, okay? So let's put the first thing up here, and you're gonna see it's from Newsweek. Okay, so it says here, Wade Wilson's troubled early years, the making of a convicted killer, published August 8th. And let's just get into very quickly what it goes over in this article. Now here they're talking to somebody who went to Deer Lake Middle School with him in Childs High School. This is where Wade went. They wanted to remain anonymous. Now she says nobody would eat. They would just pass drugs around, which was so weird to me, she said, claiming she once dated one of Wilson's close friends who also wasn't a very good kid either. Now it goes on down here to say we would smoke in the woods before school started, and that was almost a daily thing after the first time. Sometimes it would just be me and Wade, and sometimes her boyfriend would be there, but every time I was alone with Wade, he never gave me any vibes that I was unsafe. She said he would sometimes hang around her and her boyfriend, but most of the time he was either with the girl he was dating or he was flirting up with the girls. She claims Wilson did not respect authority whatsoever and was expelled from high school because he was smoking weed in the bathroom and caught the toilet paper roll on fire. Alrighty. Now again, does this, smoking weed in high school make you a bad person killer? No, right? But it just seems one thing that stuck out to me here was the rebellious aspect of it. Her saying the authority, all that kind of stuff, like he's not into it. You can kind of see the trajectory of that. Now, like I said, we're going to hear more about Wade, his childhood, his life, that type of stuff from his biological father, Steve, on the stand, as well as some interviews that he's done online. I watched some of them. I've made notes about what I want to talk about. But before we get to that, well, that will be part of it. Let's start talking about some different aspects of this case and trial that really stuck out to me, that really, I think, propelled it into being like this viral thing that it's become. Okay, so let's talk about the name Wade Wilson, the Deadpool killer thing, right? So if you know Deadpool, if you don't, it's a movie, fictional character, okay? Like a superhero. I call him like the anti-superhero hero, whatever. But great movies. I love them. That being said, Wade Wilson is like his name, his real name or whatever. So obviously the connection is there, okay? So that's one thing there, okay? Then if you talk about Wade Wilson, this guy, the guy in court, you have to talk about the tattoos. I have tattoos. I have nothing against tattoos. However, with Wade, he kind of did the opposite of what a lot of people do when they get in trouble and they're going to have to go to a jury trial and whatnot. Now, we're going to look at the progression of photos up here of Wade, of his tattoos. Let's just go ahead and put them up here and talk about them. Okay, now the first thing you're going to sit here and see is the 2019 arrest. Now, you see he has the neck tattoos, all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, his face is clear of tattoos. Now, let's look at a court appearance that he does a little bit later. Now, if you'll go and look at it, you see his head shaved. He's still got the neck thing, whatever. But you'll see a tattoo, a large tattoo on the side of his head. I'm not going to say the name of it right here, but you can see it's very highly associated with atrocities that occurred in Germany a while ago, okay? So if you can't see it, do the math on what symbology represents that. Okay, let's go to the next one. It goes a little bit further here. We see here the 2023. Still looking relatively, okay, just got the neck thing going on, whatever. Now let's go to 2024 court appearance. This is where we start to see even more and more face tattoos. You see the little stitches, this and that, all that kind of stuff on his face. And then we get all the way to jury selection and we see, wow, okay, this guy's got a lot of face tattoos going on. Now, here's one thing with this. His lawyers would get it worked out, basically talking about, look, these could be prejudicial to the jury. Could he wear makeup? Could he do this? Could he do that? He didn't really seem to make much of an attempt to cover these up. I think he probably resigned himself to thinking, I'm not going home. Who cares? And probably by then, there's kind of a point to that, but probably also, I feel like he might have switched over at some point to this train of thought. I'm never going home. However, I've got this fan club. I've got all these girls. I've got the kiosk. Oh my God, that word. The whole 9 yards, right? So he was almost like, I'm advertising, right? He's got the suit on. He is personified like the bad boy thing. And I think he just really leaned into that at a certain point. But obviously, seeing a defendant with these tattoos and the fact that they got them awaiting trial for these massive charges is like, wow, okay, I'm gonna look. Okay, now let's talk about the wardrobe that he wore. Here's the thing. The man wears a suit well. Okay, let's put this first one up here, this dark suit. Now again, especially from the vantage point of TV and whatnot, remember this is a big dude, okay? So he wears the suit well. Now let's go to what I associate with Wade Wilson. The shocking blue. Literally looks like he is going to like a mafia nightclub, okay? I borderline was like, why'd they even let him wear this? It's almost like it's too dressed up for court. Now the last one, the little seersucker look, all that, like he can wear a suit. He looked sharp. He looked overdressed. He looked like all the ways, right? Then mixed with the tattoos. Now here's the thing, we'll hear this in a minute. His father would say, look, this is what happened. He befriended this dude. Sounded like, a religious church going dude who was like, I'm going to go to the Goodwill and get you these, outfits and whatnot. Because remember, if you're watching Sarah Boone, we heard them explain that how it works, and every place is different, obviously, but there is some kind of standard protocol, it seems. Basically, you can have people bring you clothes, or they're going to dress you or whatever. So he had somebody that was just able to go and find some things that semi-fit him and whatnot. Remember, he's a big dude, and he wore this, but again, it just added to it. Sitting here looking at this dude in shocking blue with the face tattoos and the hair slicked back on the charge that he's on with that little smirk, it's gonna grab attention, okay? Period. End of story. Now, another dynamic of this case that, again, I'll say it again, Sarah Boone-esque, is the lawyer situation. Wade went through several lawyers, and in fact, let's look at a news clip that kind of sums up what was going on.
Wade Wilson wrote a letter to the judge last week to say his attorney no longer represents his best interests, and then 2 days later, the lawyer filed paperwork with the judge to be taken off the case. He said he and Wilson can no longer work together and that their relationship cannot be repaired. Wilson went through the same thing with another lawyer back in April. In fact, if he does get a new lawyer, it will be his fourth in the last 9 months.
So there you go. Multiple lawyers, all this thing dragging out, lawyers dying, you name it, it's going on, yada, yada, yada. Also, what viral case isn't a viral case without an escape attempt, an alleged escape attempt? Let's look at another news clip.
Deputies say Wade Wilson and Joseph Katz, the two men you see right here, broke a window in their cell. We spoke with a lawyer who says these new charges could actually have an impact on his murder trial. She says his defense team will likely try to make sure the jury doesn't hear about it.
Yeah. You can say that again. Probably not something they wanted the jury to hear about, okay? You name it, there's that. Again, I'll say this. It just seems like Wade knew his number was up and was like, I ain't going anywhere. I'm just going to do what I got to do. You know, just very volatile. And they would do a brain scan later on. We'll get to some of that in a little bit. You know, and of course, you're going to hear people talking about, oh, frontal lobe damage, all this type of stuff. And I mean, I ain't no doctor or whatever, but definitely it seems like he's a little bit impulsive, okay? Now, also, another dynamic is Wade trying to come out talking about, I'm innocent, this was organized crime, let me out. And in fact, let's look at an interview that a reporter did with him where he is making these claims. Let's roll the tape.
Did you kill Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz?
No, absolutely not. I'm not a monster. Yeah, I'm not a saint either by any means. I've made bad decisions in the past. Of course.
Even your own father testified that you called him saying you met Melton at a bar, you spent the night together, you went back to her house, and you didn't know why, but you choked her, rolled her up in a carpet. How do you explain that?
Right. Well, you know, those things that were said to my father, they were said by me. Of course, they were false too.
As for the confessions to his father,
I was forced. That wasn't a call that I willingly wanted to make.
Wilson claims it's all part of a conspiracy being covered up. One that he's trying to expose. He says he was recruited from Key West to be part of a crime organization in Lee County.
A lot of things that we were doing from Key West to Fort Myers, including the human trafficking, including, you know, various other things, prostitution with the women, drug trafficking, cell phone records will show, text messages will prove, and these are things that my lawyers already have.
When I called Wilson's lawyer, he wouldn't answer any of my questions.
Do you blame him? I mean, obviously you can't, right? Again, so a couple of things to notice here. The smirk in here. Now, we'll hear some phone calls and whatnot from the dad talking about, you can't be doing, what are you doing? It doesn't look good. You know, Wade would confess to this multiple times. Now, I get, we see this all the time where people are like, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to say this. I didn't mean to do that. Whatever. This is just another ploy, in my opinion, of trying to cast doubt and blame onto somebody else. It was organized crime. We were doing this. But the way he gloats about, oh, with the human you know what and this and that, I'm like, why are we smiling about this? This is what his father saw. This is right there what his father saw, the bragging about it. These are not things you brag about, okay? I don't even know if in the crime world, like, that would be a crime that's like, yeah, I did that, right? I feel like if you're doing that, that doesn't go over well in, like, prison. You know what I'm saying? But who am I, right? Now, the other dynamic to this that is continuing to propel it is, I don't know a better word to say it, the fan club, okay? I guess that's what you would call it. Men and women, as we will hear in a little bit, all flocked to Wade, okay? We're talking GoFundMes, we're talking change.org setup petitions, we're talking mail support visits, and brace yourself, dare I say it, the damn kiosk, okay? Just, if you follow this, you know what I'm talking about, okay? If you've listened to the phone calls, that word, the kiosk, which is like the hub, the thing, the put money on this, the all that kind of stuff, the canteen, like the kiosk is like the hub, if you will, the mothership, right? And he is obsessed with the kiosk and getting money on it and getting money in his books and people's names and all this stuff, okay? So, and I'm being facetious about that because he just literally every phone call is like, put money in the kiosk, put money in the kiosk, put money in the kiosk. You just hear this word over and over. But let's look at a quick article that goes over some aspects about this fandom that has surrounded the case. And even like the state and everybody would speak out against this and kind of remind people, hello, this is public record. You know, your name is going to be out there talking about you're writing him, you're seeing him, your phone calls. And a lot of people are probably punching air right now over phone calls that have been released with Wade. So you'll see here on the screen, it says Wade Wilson, prosecutor, slam his supporters. Defendant is being idolized. This came out the 27th of August. Let's go on to the next thing. And it says up here at the top, Amira Fox, state attorney, said her office has noticed a number of individuals who have voiced their support for Wilson. We're going to go into what the second paragraph says, quoting her. It has not gone unnoticed that this defendant is being idolized by some people who are somehow proud to mix their name with his through public comments, fundraising for him, or holding him up to be some sort of positive representation of a man, ignoring that he is nothing more than a vicious killer and about the most poor representation of a man there could be, Fox said. Ate him up and spit him out is what she did. Now, of course, she's the prosecutor. We would expect that, right? Now, it continues on here. It says the Lee County Sheriff's Office previously told Newsweek that Wilson received 3,903 messages from June 12th, the day he was convicted, to July 12th. Y'all, that's 1 month. Okay. In addition to online messages, he received 65 letters in the mail. He was also sent 754 photos, with 163 rejected due to their inappropriate nature. Okay. We're going to get into the phone calls here in a minute. Now, we're not going to listen to the saucy ones. We're going to listen to one that's like more pursuant to like some of the confessions and stuff. But y'all, the phone calls, if you are bored, okay, and you're looking for just, I'm talking Love After Lockup level reality TV stuff or whatever, you just go Google Wade Wilson phone calls. There's tons of channels putting them out there, and start listening to them. And I beg of you to start with the one with Joey, okay? Your ears will hear things that you're not prepared for, I will say that, okay? But start there and then work your way back, okay? But let's keep the story going for now. Now, like I said, what I want to do for this is I want to listen to some of the phone calls. This is from Law and Crime that deal a lot with the confession, but also kind of hearing from Milo, from Kelly, from his dad, that pertain to the case and just some of the energy going on there. So what we're going to do is we are going to listen to some clips of them and we'll talk about it.
Pushed her out of the car, and then I ran her over with the car. Baby, will you please see me again? This is going to ruin my life if you never see me again, please.
Your life is ruined, babe. What do you not understand?
Okay, that's a quick sampling, but before we get into the deeper ones, also the second word that I don't want to hear ever again is baby. Baby and kiosk, okay? Destroyed. Not that I ever say kiosk that much, or baby, but they're definitely ruined at this point, right? Okay, so that being said, you heard the first clip, pushed her out of the car and then ran over. Okay, so we're going to hear from multiple sources about the confessions, okay? Even from Wade himself. So let's now get into some of the more length phone calls. And we're going to be listening to Miley. Now remember Miley, we talked about her earlier. She would take the stand as well in the case, but this is his girlfriend at the time. Remember, and this is the girlfriend. They went out to the bar, they get an argument, he leaves, takes all her stuff, he assaults her later, so this is her.
Call me baby though, you don't have to call me dude and stuff.
Yes, baby. I love you.
Yes, I love you, baby. How are you? You know, I'm never coming home again.
I know that.
You know. And so,
what the fuck? Why do you do this to me? We had everything going for us.
I'm sorry, baby.
We had everything going for us.
I know, baby. I know we did.
You were out. You were in the clear.
I was good. I was good. Yeah.
You had 2 years of probation. I'm just happy.
Baby, I know, baby. I know.
With you, Wade.
I know, baby.
I'm never going to see you again. You know that.
You're not going to see me again?
Well, how?
Side note, could listen to these for hours. Okay, that's the nosy part of me, okay? You heard just that clip right there, how many times he said, baby, 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 baby. He seems to gloat. You can almost feel the smile, right? So when you go back to his father, who we'll talk about next, his father talking about like he was excited. It was like he's trying to transfer. I mean, you can hear this coming through, right? Now you hear her talking, you were good, what are we doing? I know. This is what I mean when I'm saying it's like he's resigned himself. Like he knows, here he said himself, I'm never going home. He knows, okay? So he's getting real comfortable and making a life for the rest of his life in prison. Let's keep going.
What's going on? How did this happen?
I don't know, dude.
How did you do this? How? Let's tell me. I want answers.
You want answers? Well, remember when I went to that dude's house or whatever?
Well, then tell me what happened then. I just
Killed the...
Why, Wade? Why?
Because we went to this dude's house, Mila, and remember when he kept showing us the pictures? Oh, I got this, or whatever?
Yes.
So I went to his house, and I did a lot of it. Like, he was giving me a lot. And I was doing a lot of...
Why did you kill the girl?
Huh?
Why did you kill that girl?
I shouldn't have. I'm wrong.
Tell me what happened. Did you have sex with her? You went and killed her? What?
No, I didn't have sex with her. I killed her, though.
Why? Why, Wade?
Because I was freaking out on those drugs. Whatever he gave me must have been like bath salts or something else. It wasn't cocaine.
What happened to where you grab a knife and stab her? What happened?
I didn't stab her. Who said I stabbed her?
People keep saying you stabbed the girl. How'd you kill her?
No.
You choked her out.
I choked her out till she died. Until she was dead.
You that you were going to do that to me one day.
Neela, I was never going to do that to you, babe.
I was never gonna do that to you, babe. Tax her at the damn place. I cannot, y'all. Listening to him talk like it's just nothing. Why'd you do it? I was basically high. Oh, that must have been bath salts. Really? Okay. These are haunting phone calls, okay? Now, great that they're getting the information out, but again, remember the interview he did earlier talking about, oh, I didn't do that. I didn't want to make that phone call. I had to make that up. Blah, 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 blah. And then, I mean, here you go. This is very candid. Now, I do think he's still lying in here because when she said, what did you have sex with her? I didn't have sex with her. Really? Really? You didn't have sex with Christine? Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, I'm not buying that one, but let's keep going.
Never going to see you again now.
You can,
had everything going for you.
Baby, will you please see me again? This is going to ruin my life if you never see me again, please.
Your life is ruined, babe. What do you not understand? You can't.
Yeah, but if I have you in my, at least if I have you in my life, I won't feel like it's over. You know, Mila, I understand. Like Mila, I don't want to be alone without you. I really love you, baby. I'm sorry.
You should kill people, motherfucker.
Okay, mother. I know that.
Again, it's like he's gloating through it, and then you hear her where he's like, my life will be over if you don't hear me. Your life is already ruined. Your life is already ruined because you ruined other people's lives, right? That's the part that blows my mind about this. Also, keep in mind how much he works her over everybody. It's the same thing. Even Joey, the dude, his boyfriend or whatever, he's saying the same thing to Joey. I love you. We're going to get married. I'm going to do this and that to your mouth. I mean, y'all. Woo! It gets graphic, okay?
I don't want to talk about this.
Well, you don't have to, but you have to explain something to me.
What is it?
And the other girl, why? She was walking to work, motherfucker.
Yeah, no. I know,
Why?
Mila.
Why couldn't you rob her? Why did you have to kill her?
Because I was freaking out on the drugs. I was on the drugs. The drugs had me fucking... Mila, please don't do this to us right now. Please. Listen, I know, and listen to me. I'm fine. I know you're going to another man that's free, obviously. I know that. I can't
date you. You killed 2 women, and you tried to murder me. I think you would have killed me, too.
Baby, that's you better believe that, ever.
Did you go to Josh's house and say you killed somebody? Did you go to Josh's?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because, Mila, you know what, Mila? I'm going to be honest with you, all because of you. All because you caused the scene, and I couldn't tell you what I had done, and you were outside with your...
You tried...
Y'all. Okay, just look at how, I mean, first of all, he's seeing all this on a recorded phone call at jail, right? Secondly, the immediate blaming, like, because of you. Because you did this, you caused this, you did this, blah, 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 blah. Now, what she's talking about, there's multiple people that will get on the stand and talk about, yeah, he showed up and he was like, give me an Uber. He was covered in blood. You know, he said he had killed a couple of people. So this is what I'm talking about, where you get into the different layers of confessions and whatnot. Okay, let's keep going.
Did you kill her and then try to kill me and then go try to kill the other girl? And
no, I tried to come see you to tell you what I had done.
Yeah, but did you kill the second girl at that point?
No. I think I killed her later.
You think?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. I killed her after I saw you.
These are like usually things that people remember when they kill somebody.
I killed her after I saw you.
Why? Why couldn't you just rob her? Why did you have to kill her?
I'm sorry. I don't know.
Why? I kind of want to know why. What was going through your head when you're killing her? So I heard that you choked her out. She didn't die. She got up and ran. You ran her over with the car. Is that how it went?
That is, yeah, it is. She didn't get up and run. That's not true. I choked her out. pushed her out of the car, and then I ran her over with the car.
How did you get her in the car?
She got in by herself.
So she got in the car by herself.
Yeah.
And you took her out in the car.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Pushed her out of the car, and
Uh-huh.
then you
Ran her over. Yeah, like 10
Do you
times.
not hear yourself?
Yes, Mila, I do. I hear
Does
myself.
this sound like something that you want to be saying out loud? Can you believe that you've done this?
No, I can't. I really can't. I was on drugs, dude. I really can't believe it.
Yeah, we're never like 10 times. I'm sorry. The nonchalantness, it's the nonchalantness for me, right? Where I'm just like, zero like awareness of the entire thing. It's so bizarre to listen to. Again, it's like he's sitting there smiling and flirting with Mila and just like trying to, oh, I'm sorry, don't do this to us right now. You know, why'd you do it? I just, I've ran her over 10 times. And imagine her children, which they did listening to this. That's someone's mother, as the father will say here in a minute. Let's listen to a couple more phone calls and hear from a couple of different people.
Where are you and her at right now? Okay.
Oh, she said we're
Where
still.
where are y'all at?
She said she's not going to leave me.
Okay. Well, let me tell you the truth. Do you know anything about media or anything with her?
No, what happened?
Okay. So yesterday when you called, she set your up. She had a news reporter there and had you on speakerphone, dude. And the news reporter heard you telling her you're the best. They've got it all over the TV, okay? Where Mila calls you a monster, where she says you're a psychopath and she's your ex and you were going to kill her. And they recorded your conversation with her.
Yeah.
Where you're saying, don't leave me. You're the best thing ever. You know that, right? And then she's like, I'm so confused. So she's playing you right now because she's got the goddamn media there. Now I'm gonna play it for you. I want you to listen to this. This is your fucking girl on TV.
Okay, that's the dad, right? So when you're listening to the phone call we're just listening to, it is weird where you're like, how much? She's like, well, what did you do it for? All that stuff, right? The dad's coming up. Now, this will be a theme in this case. When you have a case like this, we've seen this over the years, whether it's the Night Stalker, Manson, Ted Bundy, Chris Watts, you name it, right? Jodi Arias, okay? When you have a case that blows up to this level, you get like groupies and people like that, whatever. Now I'm not trying to say, like, obviously Mila knew him. A lot of these people already knew him, but new people attach themselves to the case. They're trying to get clout. They're trying to do this. They're trying to, whatever their fixation and fascination is with something like this. And whether it's just simply a monetary thing or whatever, but there is that. Now, again, granted, something like this, at minimum, is helping the prosecution. They're getting multiple confessions. I get that part. But this is just something that's very common in these phone calls, and the dad starts calling him out. Obviously, he was still talking to his father at this point. Let's listen to another one.
When I was on the phone with you, you were on the phone with the cops, weren't you?
What do you mean?
Like when I was calling you, and you were like, I was like, baby, I need a bus. Baby, you set me up. I went to Joe's Crab Shack, and the cops tried to get me.
I did set you up for that, yes.
You did?
Yeah, I was scared of you.
Okay, fair enough. At least you're honest.
You said you wanted to see me, kiss me on the forehead, tell me something.
So you see him doing the confrontation and whatnot, and he'll do this with the women too, where he'll call them out and confront them. And again, this is a drop in the bucket of the phone calls, okay? I've not listened to all of them. I've not gone down the entirety of it. These were some that just, fixated, or not fixated, but focused on the confession, the father, these moments after the crime and whatnot or whatever. So let's listen to one more.
I was scared of you.
Wilson's other ex, Kelly, also spoke with reporters after his arrest.
It had nothing to do with the police. They were asking me, the news was asking me what happened, and I told them.
How did that feel? How did that feel to talk to the news? Did it feel good?
No, because I was just trying to get people to realize that you run to the police after something happens, and they don't always help you. People...
You also called me an animal, a monster, and other things.
I did.
You did.
I did.
I did. You did. I did. Now, that was Kelly. She's spoken out on multiple channels and interviews and all this kind of stuff, right? But this is what I'm talking about. You see him calling this out. Now, one thing also, I'm not going to play clips of the Joey phone call. You can Google it or YouTube it, whatever you want to do. One thing that is very interesting to me with the phone calls is the difference in how Wade talks to a male versus a woman. Now, across the board, I think he's manipulating and working them over, right? He's all about that damn kiosk. He's all about that kiosk, okay? He's all about that damn canteen money, okay? Now, he'll tell us that she put $20 in my book. You know, this just, again, multiple people coming at him from different ways. He's probably got a ton of money on his kiosk, on his books. Okay, honey buns ain't cheap, okay? Let's just call that out. Honey buns and soup, they ain't cheap. He's got to do what he's got to do, and he is doing it. But again, to sum up the phone calls, though, and again, I would implore you to listen to the Joey one. He has this completely different tone with Joey. He's telling Joey they're going to get married. He loves him. He's describing very explicit things they're going to do with each other and to each other, the whole 9 yards, right? So it's interesting to where I just think it's a game to Wade. I think he just will work anybody and anything over. I would love to know how the release of the Joey phone call went over with like his dad, the exes, the women, and especially in wherever he's at, right? The prison, jail, whatever. Because it's like super cringe and embarrassing, okay? Especially knowing that he's probably making it up. Like, you know, I don't really believe any of it, but I also don't believe, I just think he's more of an opportunist. It's like, who knows who he's really into and who he's not. Now, let's move on to a little bit more of a serious part of the case, and this is the father. This is Steve. Now, remember, this is the bio dad, like I was saying. The bio dad was put up against a huge issue situation, and that was having to turn his own son in, okay? Now, the dad will describe how this went down, his decision-making, things of this. You know, his dad's gotten into trouble in his past and whatnot. Sounds like he's straight-laced. He's doing this. He learned his lesson, you know, but he kind of knows how it goes down on the yard kind of a situation, right? So that's going to be interesting to hear, especially when he does an interview with a very popular YouTube channel. We'll talk about it here in a second. But first, what I want to do is look at some clips from the trial of his dad being questioned about the actual confession part and how that all went down. So let's play a few clips from that.
Now, were either of you in a position at that age to be able to raise him?
No, ma'am.
Was he placed up for adoption?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, again, remember what we talked about earlier. This is the father. He's talking about, yep, we were 15. I was like 15. His mom was 14. We had her, or had him. He ends up being put up for adoption. So I just wanted to kind of provide the source for that.
Who was he adopted by?
Candy and Steve Wilson.
That's the adopted parents' names. Now, remember, Steve will speak very highly of them, and we'll hear about that in the interview that he does next.
Did your relationship turn into a situation where he was just asking for your help?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in the interview that Steve does with the YouTube channel, it's called Lockdown 23 and 1. I highly suggest subscribing to him. He's got a great channel. He does some great interviews and covers a lot of cool stuff and has a perspective of, kind of having been in there and done that and knows how things go down and whatever. So when Steve is talking to him and kind of going into more of the backstory, and he's saying, yeah, you know what? When I ran back into my son, Wade, Wade reached out to me. He had become of age. Obviously, he's curious. Who's my dad, whatever. And he was like, Wade was where I was at years ago. He was in active addiction. He had a lot of issues going on. And I was wanting to make up for lost time, basically. And he's like, so yeah, let me get you an Uber. Let me send you some money. Let me do this. And it sounds like, from what he describes, that, Wade would lean on him for that and almost become one of these people of, if I need something, you're going to hear from me. And if not, you're not going to hear from me, right? And his dad will speak to this a little bit later. But let's keep going for now.
The first time he said he needed help. He had done something that he couldn't take back.
Now, what Steve here is describing is the numerous phone calls that he would receive from his son, Wade, the day of the murders, and his son reaching out to him. Now, of course, at this point, Steve is like, you know what? I'm used to getting these phone calls from Wade talking about, oh, Mila's in trouble or whoever, and all this drama. So I need this, I need that. Give me an Uber, give me money, whatever. So when he's getting these phone calls, he's like, look, I'm at work. Call me later. I don't got time for your drama, son, kind of a thing. Hit me up later when things are cool and I can get home.
Did he end up calling you later that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he tell you in that call that evening?
The final call?
Nope, the call before the final call.
He just told me, he did something. There was 2 people gone that would not be back. He said, I'm a killer.
Now, again, just keep in mind we have multiple forms of confessions going here. Now, again, this one is more or less hearsay. We're not hearing directly from Wade. We're hearing from the father. Now, again, the dad, he will say, I either have the clip or I don't. But in the full thing, he's like, there was a different energy about this. Because at first he's like, I'm just going to believe it, right? It's almost like when you're dealing with somebody who's doing this and constantly working over money and all this drama, you never know. What is it today? You know what I mean? What is it today? What's the next level thing today? Tomorrow it'll be something else. Today it'll be this, whatever. It's just how it goes.
What did he tell you?
He just said he met a girl at a bar. They went back to her house, hung out for a little bit, and then she fell asleep.
What did he say happened after she fell asleep?
He said he got on top of her and choked her.
What name did he call her?
Now, he'll go on to further describe the explicit names that he said about the woman. Obviously, they're probably not nice, right? They're obviously not nice, and this is what I'm talking about, where he's, giving his own version to people of, this is what I did. If you're going to admit to doing something, isn't it sound nicer? And when I say something like to taking somebody's life, doesn't it sound nicer of, oh, she was asleep and so I crawled on top of her and did that, as opposed to there's a struggle and she screamed and yelped? You see what I'm saying? Not that either of them are okay, but I personally don't believe it went down that way, but that's just me. Let's keep going.
What did he say happened once she got in the car with him?
He said he reached over and choked her.
And did he tell you that he choked her while he was driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is speaking of the other victim, Diane, and what he did to her in the car as well.
What did he tell you about the situation when he got to the place where he was going to dump her body?
He said that he pulled her out of the car and realized that she was still breathing.
So what did he tell you he did when he realized she's still breathing?
He said he got back in the car and ran her over until she looked like spaghetti.
Y'all, oh my gosh, okay. I can't with that whole spaghetti thing. I just, bless her heart. But this is, so the dad's in the stand, this is what we're hearing, right? Is this whole recounting of this and his decision to go and, finally do what he had to do, which is turn his son in.
I felt like he was wanting me to feel the way he felt about it.
Did he seem proud of it?
Yes.
Did he seem to show any kind of remorse?
Oh, ma'am.
Now, again, this is your son telling you this, and you're realizing he's just killed these 2 women, and he's bragging about this, and he wants me to feel excited. There's no remorse. This, as a parent, I can't fathom the feeling that this would give you, because, also, I think a lot of times when you're dealing with your own blood, somebody you brought into this world, even though I know he was raised by adopted parents, all this internal thing of like to protect the offspring, right? Almost like this primal thing. So it's almost like you have to fight that of, well, I have to protect other people.
And was he able to go into great detail about both of these ladies' deaths?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, again, obviously the prosecutors want to ask questions like this so that they can, just as evidence or whatever. Did he go into great detail? So there's no, questioning that, yeah, he did it all right.
Did you feel conflicted about giving him over to law enforcement initially?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point when you're talking with him, did that feeling change?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I just thought, what if that was my mom or my daughter or sister or wife?
Look at the look on Wade's face while he's sitting there. Nothing. There's just nothing behind his eyes. You know how some of these cases we follow, or maybe you've met people like this in real life, whatever, that have their eyes, it's like they call them dead eyes, right? A lot of times, you can go down this rabbit hole on TikTok if you Google it, or TikTok at whatever in the search bar. Just TikTok dead eyes, okay, and go down the pipeline of it and start watching people's content on it. It's a thing. I think Richard Ramirez, I think that Wade has them. They're dead behind the eyes, and it's usually associated with people with some type of situation going on that end up doing stuff like this.
I would want somebody to do that.
And did you have additional concerns of what might happen if you didn't turn him into law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that, sir?
He would have done it again.
100%. And Steve will say in his interview, I don't know if I put a clip of it up here, if he says this on the stand, but he'll tell the guy from the Lockdown 23-in-1 channel, he'll say, when I went to see Steve in jail or whatever, I go up to the glass and Steve's like, did you turn me in? Confronts him right away, and he's like, I did. And he explains this part to his dad, to his son, Wade, and he said that Wade goes, you know what, Dad, you're right, I would have. And he said that he felt like that was true Wade, like, he 100% believed he would do this. And that's the thing, too, as a parent, as much as you might want to protect your child, whatever, when you hear something like this grown man, and that's what he'll say, he'll make the difference when he's talking to 23-in-1, where he's just like, it's my boy. He's like, no, he's a man. I'm seeing this man, right? This grown-ass man talking about, I ran her over until she looked like she was spaghetti. I can't no. The father will also talk about how he's gotten slack from people basically saying like, oh, they would never turn their son in or whatever. Okay, everybody's different. I get that, right? Again, listen to the father. What if this was my wife? What if this was my sister? What if this was my mother? I mean, you're hearing these kids get up here talking about mom's face wasn't in the crowd for marching band. Mom's never going to see me get married. You know what I'm saying? It's heartbreaking.
And were you on the phone with him when law enforcement showed up at that house?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you encourage him to go outside and turn himself in?
I did. I didn't want him to do anything stupid and end up getting killed. So
yeah, the father was very instrumental in this process, and I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff about, you're not supposed to tell or do this or whatever, or work with law enforcement and whatnot. I definitely feel like he made the right decision on multiple levels, just like he said here, where he's telling his son, you need to go out there, just go out there. Don't do anything stupid, because you're going to get yourself killed. Because at this point, honey, they're going to kill you. Okay? It's time to get real damn serious. It's time to man up and turn yourself in and start doing the right thing, because you've done a whole bunch of the wrong thing. Now, Steve would also talk about how a couple of days after this took place, they still couldn't find Diane's body. So this is when he goes down, or he talks to Wade, and it's basically like, look, these boys need their mother. And he kind of talks some sense into him, and he directs him to Diane's body. So, other things that were noteworthy of the interview that he did, Steve, with 23-in-1, as he was talking about Wade's behavior and whatnot, and he said, you know what? They're talking about his missing teeth. And he was like, well, he was probably popping off, and he got knocked off while he was incarcerated. And he was like, you know what? He was not this way with men. He's totally different with men. He is aggressive with women. He's not going to talk this way to men and stuff like that, because he gets handled real quick. And he was always checking in. He was always doing this. He was always doing that while he was incarcerated and whatnot. And, owing people money, doing this, doing that. So it'll be curious to see how things fare for Wade while he is, going to prison and whatnot. Because the dad didn't really paint too good of a picture. Now, on the imagery of the tattoos I was saying that have something to do with, Germany and all that type of stuff, his dad was like, that's him just trying to be a big bad wolf kind of thing. That's not Wade. He's never talked like that. He's never done that. That's him trying to fit in and whatnot and do all the things to be maybe intimidating and fit into the culture, the prison culture and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I've heard back and forth of, about these tattoos that he's gotten that associate him with certain prison gangs, and that he wasn't accepted and that he was accepted and that he did it without permission or he got permission. I don't know. I'm not there. I can't say. But I do know from what I've understand that it doesn't go over well if you get these tattoos without like the gang saying you can get them, right? But I don't know, okay? But regardless, I do believe that the father did the right thing in this instant, and I do believe that it saved other people's lives eventually. Now, as you can imagine, none of this fared well for Mr. Wade when it came to the verdict.
We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of a felony and under sentence of imprisonment or placed on community control or on felony probation. Yes. We, the jury, find unanimously that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use of threats of violence to the person. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Yes. As to count 4, first-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Yes.
Now, what you're hearing is all these aggravating factors that have to be considered when you're talking about the ultimate case, the death penalty case, right? Now, he was found guilty. Obviously, we at this point know that the jury did come back and say, yeah, it's time for old Sparky. So yeah, a jury did find that he was guilty on June 12th of taking the life of Christine and Diane. They weighed the aggravating and mitigating circumstances. They did recommend the death penalty. Now, June 25th, the jury did vote. It was 9-3 in Melton's murder and 10-2 in Roy's murder in favor of the death penalty.
We, the jury, find by a vote of 9-3 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death.
So there you have that. Now remember, in Florida, you don't have to have like this unanimous thing anymore, right? And so Wade is going to learn real quickly how that works. Now, of course, the judge is going to have to weigh in and go over this and look at the jury's recommendation, all this type of stuff. Now, obviously, there's another hearing for this and whatnot. They would perform some brain scans and do all this kind of stuff to bring this in. And let's just listen to one quick clip of that to kind of get the vibe of some things that are being said about that.
There are two basic conclusions. One, with the ventricular asymmetry. Ventricular asymmetry can be a normal finding, but in the setting of psychiatric disease, it indicates cognitive and emotional dysfunction.
Okay. How does that manifest itself in somebody's conduct?
It's going to cause worse behavior. It's going to cause less thinking. It's going to cause less likely to modify evidence of some brain injury. The atrophy of his superior anterior temporal lobes as well as his frontal lobes is an important combination. When you have atrophy of your amygdala, which is one of your main points of your limbic system, it creates for emotional instability. It makes you more likely to get mad and not be able to calm yourself down.
Now, here you have it. You know, the frontal lobe, all that kind of stuff. And again, you know, if you're new here, I ain't no doctor. I'm none of that stuff, right? I'm not anything to give diagnosis or anything like that. But oftentimes, just watching these cases that we do, you do see kind of a correlation of some of these issues, frontal lobe damage, you know, nature versus nurture, all these type of things that play into it. Now, another dynamic that went down during like the sentencing phase and all this type of stuff was Wade's adoptive parents wrote a letter to be read where we can learn a little bit more insight into maybe what his childhood was like, how they felt he was, and at what point they felt like they lost him. So let's take a minute, let's listen to the letter being read in court, and then we'll discuss it.
Judge, this is a letter from the adoptive parents of Mr. Wilson. It's been 5 years since the worst of this began. You can't possibly understand how sorry we are for the families affected by this tragedy. We cannot change the past, but we wish we could. On that fateful day 5 years ago, not only were the lives and the dreams of two women lost, with their families left behind in shock and grief, but another family was left shocked and grieved over a different kind of loss.
Now, I just wanted to interrupt there to say a couple of things. Number one, again, pay attention to Wade, his facial expressions, all this type of stuff. There doesn't seem to be much going on there. And another dynamic that the family that the Wilsons bring up here is a dynamic that we see that's, you know, it's not really looked at that often, because when you're talking about the parents of the person like Wade, you know, people are more concerned with the victims, and I totally get that, right? There's another dynamic, like they said, another kind of loss of our son just took two people's lives. You know, we've lost our son and their family. I mean, like, your world has crashed. How many questions would you have that you're like, what happened? This person who we raised, how did we end up here? It's something so atrocious. And how do you pick the pieces up? How do you try and put life back together? What does this relationship look like from here on out? And you have two sets of people doing that. One, you can look at the sons of Diane, same questions. What does this, our mother has been stolen from us. His parents, the bio dad, all the way to the adoptive parents. What does life look like now? How do we go forward?
It's easy to recognize the victims and their families and to feel profound sympathy for all they suffered and lost. But one group that isn't often recognized as those also suffering is the family of the accused. Our journey of loss didn't happen all in one day as theirs did, but it was heartbreaking nonetheless. Wade was a joyful child, loved his parents and sisters, and was loved immensely in return. But over the teen years, and then especially in the early years of adulthood, Wade began to slip away from us, becoming withdrawn, erratic, and depressed at first.
Now I wanted to interrupt again. So this part right here where they start talking about these, these teen years, like this is where something started taking place. What happened? Why? What would go on with him? Now, remember, from their point of view, he's adopted, so it's like, okay, well, you're going to then switch over to the bio parents. Like, what issues do they have going on? Well, obviously, we know there's some drug issues, things of this nature, some addiction issues. Yeah, but the father will say he was like, and what I mean by father, the bio dad, he's like, I'm not somebody who's aggressive towards women. I'm not, any of those things. So it's almost like, what happened, Wade?
Then, as addiction was added to mental illness, he became frankly paranoid and delusional, and the sense of loss became increasingly sharp. He was in the system for years trying to get help for his mental anguish and for his addiction. They put a tiny Band-Aid on it and then sent him back into the world without a diagnosis, medication, and without follow-up care. We tried to hold the pieces together, but had no idea how to find the support Wade needed to be the person he was inside. The system failed him, and that fateful day in 2019, we lost the last piece of the son we loved and all the hopes for his future.
Now, this is one of the things that often comes up in some of these cases that we watch when the impact statements are being done by the person who did the crimes. And not every time, but, enough to speak on it or whatever. And, talking about the system failed, they did this and that. The system, at least here in America for the most part, is not, it's supposed to be about rehabilitation, but it's really not. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of it doesn't go on, especially where we've lost a lot of the, mental health is kind of pushed under the carpet, drug addiction pushed under the carpet. Everything's created more towards severe punishment as opposed to how to integrate back into society. And so it's not that often that you see somebody be able to do that. And unfortunately, what happens is things escalate. If there's something truly going on here. Now, I don't know these particular people. Obviously, I don't know any of them, so I can't say what that looked like for him or what the help that they were hoping to get when he was not in the system or whatever. It sounds like they kind of, were at their wits' end with him, if you will.
In those tragic moments when the cancer of severe mental illness and addiction won, we lost our son, grandson.
Okay, I wanted to pause real quick here, y'all. Unfortunately, what's really sad in this is you'll notice behind Wade as we watch these two kids laughing during this. I don't know what they're laughing at or what would be funny if they're even paying attention. My first thought was they're sitting here seeing themselves on TV and are tickled by that, but regardless, I'm just like, seriously? So inappropriate.
Brother, nephew, and uncle. So we understand the despair, anguish, loss, and hatred for someone or something that takes away someone you love. Because despite everything, Wade is still our son, and we love him. The hopes and dreams of his life are already lost, but the human is still in there somewhere, tortured beyond what most of us can even begin to imagine. Taking his life will not bring back those two beautiful women. There is no justice on earth for that kind of loss. Taking another life only adds to the tragedy. Please see it in your heart not to kill our son and make our innocent family suffer even more. The system designed to help those who suffer and are lost failed him. That system is broken and would be only further broken if it took Wade's last breath. That broken system owes Christine, and it owes Diane, and it owes their families, and it owes our family. It owes us all the peace that it did not provide to Wade. Candy and Steve Wilson.
Wow. So one thing too, if you look at it, the way Wade drives, he's doing this all the time. Like, here I am, just staring at the camera, dead on, right? I'm sitting here watching, I'm uncomfortable, right? Listening to Wade talk, listening to the evidence, listening to everything. I just feel like he's too far gone. There's no remorse. It's just whatever it has gone on with him. I can appreciate someone being in a situation where a family member, especially a child of some sort, does something that you don't have control over. They've made a horrible decision that has taken someone's life and destroyed numerous lives, including your own as their parent, right? I understand that need to protect them and to not want to see them dead, even no matter what they did, right? Oh my God, my son's traumatized, but I still, I can appreciate it. However, I would also argue it's a death penalty case. He's probably going to live another 20 years, right? And he'll probably get overturned somehow to life without parole. I mean, most of the time this happens, right? Not that that makes it any different. I understand them wanting to fight for his life and whatnot. And I guess that's mainly what I'm trying to say is just, I can appreciate a parent wanting to fight for their child's life. The things that he did are... They're unspeakable at this point, so I'm not sure where you can go from that. And again, the complete lack of remorse, the smirking, listening to him talk, just like this was, we've already moved on from this, right? Like zero cares about it. That's the part that's concerning. And while I do believe that everybody for the most part is capable of change, redemption, all this kind of stuff, there comes a certain point where you might be so far gone and so volatile that while you might be able to make those kind of changes and whatnot, it's best to do them behind bars and in a protected place for the rest of your time here.
Thank you. We would rest. All right.
Judge, I would just ask that you colloquy the defendant to ensure that he doesn't want to speak at this hearing.
Oh, well, Mr. Wilson, you have an opportunity, just like during any of the other phases of, well, let me just finish real quick. Any other phases during the case, if you want to address the court, I would permit you to do that. Obviously, everything's recorded, but you would have that opportunity if you wish. No one can prevent you from addressing the court if you wish to, and no one can make you address the court if you don't want to. So it is a decision that's solely left up to you if you want to address the court or not.
Not today. Later, when I come back, I will. Today,
okay.
No, I won't.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
You heard, but now here's the thing again, wait up there like this. But he's doing this. Hold on, let me do it. He's like, that stare. Like he's hunting you, like he's a predator. And again, there's nothing you can say at this point, okay? There's nothing you could say if you're him, right? It's best to just mosey on down, okay? And just walk away from that. Now, let's get to, we're going to fast forward to actual, here we are. We're doing the sentence. We're imposing death sentence, okay? Let's listen to the judge because he will lay this out in a very boom, boom, boom way and explain his decision and explain some of the legal aspect behind it.
The totality of the circumstances indicates the defendant, with premeditation, beat and strangled Christine Melton in her home before stealing her vehicle and driving to meet his girlfriend, Melissa Montanez. After Montanez refused to get into the car with him, the defendant battered her in broad daylight. The defendant told law enforcement, when Ms. Montanez managed to flee from the defendant, he fled the scene and drove back to Cape Coral, where he decided that he would murder another person. He saw Diane Ruiz walking to work and pulled over, pretending to ask for directions. She got into the car to provide directions, but the defendant strangled her when she tried to exit. He then drove to an empty lot, strangling her into unconsciousness at least one additional time on the way there. When she tried to flee from the car, he drove over her at least one time, inflicting mortal injuries to her spine, ribs, and neck. The evidence showed that both murders were heinous, atrocious, and cruel, and that the second murder was cold, calculated, and premeditated.
Now, I just wanted to put that up there so we could hear the judge kind of lay it out very quickly of, look, at bare minimum, we know that A, B, and C took place here, according to Wade, evidence, whatever, right? But also, again, the way he just stares the judge down and just sits there like, we're listening to the grocery list. Like, there's just nothing going on back there, right? The horror of it is just even more magnified.
The totality of the mitigating circumstances indicates that the defendant suffers from drug use from a young age, along with undiagnosed and untreated mental health issues of some kind. He felt abandoned by his biological parents, but had a devoted adoptive family who raised him in a supportive and loving environment. Defendant did not resist law enforcement when arrested and confessed fully to both murders. The court has further considered giving great weight to the advisory verdict of the jury.
Now, here's the part, we're getting into the whole thing of like he's going with what the jury said. Now, you heard him in the beginning. He had a nice childhood, and this is the whole argument of, I just keep saying nature versus nurture. With someone like Wade, again, look at like Ted Bundy, these people who seemingly didn't have things take place, but something took place. Something happened. Some transition took place, whether it's, head trauma with Wade and then the onslaught of drug use and this and that. I am sure the adoption, the abandonment, I can appreciate that 100%. But where it has led up to these crimes is where it veers off, because there's a lot of people that are adopted. There's a lot of people that have had head trauma. There's a lot of people who do all sorts of drugs, but they don't do these things. So, you get into the whole dynamic of what made him do it? Why? Other than, just, again, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy's another one where there was some kind of reasoning at some point of some kind of situation with a woman that maybe triggered and painted a thing. But overall, a lot of people have rejection, but they don't do that. So why?
Who recommended that the death penalty be imposed by a vote of 9-3 on count 1 for the murder of Christine Melton and a vote of 10-2 on count 4 for the murder of Diane Ruiz.
Again, I just wanted to put that up there so we could hear him again repeating the numbers, how everybody weighed in about the death penalty vote and whatnot. Again, remember, it doesn't have to be unanimous in Florida.
The court finds that the aggravating factors greatly outweigh mitigating circumstances. Given the facts of the case, nothing in defendant's background or mental state would suggest that a death sentence is inappropriate. This court's review of other reported capital cases has led the court to conclude that the death penalty is not disproportionate in this case.
One thing about this clip when he's reading that off is when Wade does this number. He is somebody who is interesting to watch, because given the context of like what's going on, where you're like, what is he thinking? You know what I mean? Or is he even thinking at all, right? Like there's it's almost like you can tell a movie is going on behind his eyes of some sort, but it's like, what is he watching?
Under the totality of the circumstances and evidence, the court finds no basis to override the jury's verdict. The totality of the circumstances warrants that the defendant, Wade Stephen Wilson, be sentenced to death for each count of first-degree murder.
And there you have it. 2 deaths, each count. It's a done deal. Now, here's the thing. As you know, watching these cases, watching these trials, watching all the stuff we do, right? Yes, he got the death penalty, okay? This will be decades away from happening. Now, it's, it could be sooner with where he's at, but it'll be decades if it happens. So his parents, his adopted parents, whatever, they could definitely get their wish or whatever. Now, here's the thing. So this happens, it's, and this is all very recent, depending on when you're watching this. Today is August 31st, 2024, so this is kind of just wrapped up. More and more phone calls, more stuff keeps coming out. It's all over the internet of these women, of these men calling, and so it's continuing to kind of perpetuate the case, add these other layers, and people are hearing these calls and they're just like, oh my gosh, it's become this entire drama, especially when the phone call came out about him talking to the dude and that very explicit, like, dude to dude conversation. There's a fascination that this case has taken with the public that has people just, latched on for whatever reason. Like I said earlier, Wade kind of exhibits this bad boy image, I can fix him, whatever thing that seems to have really latched on with a lot of people. Now, I know that there's some other channels like professional doctor channels that have done this and say it's called a certain thing where people get like this fixation on an inmate or whatever. Because at the end of the day, it's like, look at what he did to 2 women. You know what I'm saying? And his girlfriend, Tamila. Like she said, you're going to kill me 100%. Right? If he got out, I have no doubt he would do it again. Now, do I think that maybe he would get out and be like, I'm going to intentionally run out and do this? Probably not on that level, but he would be an opportunistic thing, and especially if he got drugs in his system, and I think he definitely would be like, let's go party, which would lead to whatever. And that could be his downfall. Maybe he is legitimately this person that's just, when he gets that in his system, he becomes a killer. I mean, obviously in this scenario he did, if you go based on what he said, which is, the drugs made him do it. So my heart goes out to the 2 women, his victims, as well as their families, obviously, as well as to all the other people that he has victimized in this, and honestly that he continues to victimize. Because like I said, him in that damn kiosk, y'all, He's working over every damn body. I'm surprised my damn phone ain't ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's to that point. I think he'll continue to victimize. I think he'll continue to scam. I'll be very curious to see how things bode for him in prison. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure. I can't figure out the whole tattoo thing. If he's allowed to have those by the proper, you know, people or whatever, or that's going to cause him issues. I think in a normal situation, people look at these crimes that you did, that a male did against these two women, and those don't usually bode well. Now, I heard some people say because of his size, because of his stature, because of his notoriety, he might get a pass because he might be beneficial to some of the gangs. You know, only time will tell. Now, I don't know if this whole Joey phone call thing will change that, you know, because that might be like a real big macho thing, and they might be like, dude, we can't, I mean, you're saying some wild ass stuff on the phone with Joey. Wild stuff, okay? Big time, right? So, yeah. Now, I'm very curious to see what you think of this. Again, from what I can see in the comment, I did a live chat on it on the other channel, from my comment section, from other comment sections. It definitely seems like people feel multiple ways about this. So I do ask, just, you know, respect everybody's opinion, even if it might not be yours, you know, because to me, at least, that's how I learn. I'm very curious to see other people's opinions on the whole thing, no matter what side of the fence they land on, whether you think that he, you know, was set up, he shouldn't be in there, whether you think he's guilty but you think he's hot, or whether you think absolutely send him to old Sparky, my god, it can't happen soon enough, right? So but just be respectful to each other, and that's it. So I know this was a long one. I appreciate you watching. I just kind of wanted to get caught up to speed on it so I could talk to it, because this case will never end, right? And like I said, this is not the definitive guide to this case. I mean, literally, I'm skimming over a lot of stuff, but these are the things that really stuck out and spoke to me. So that's it. I do appreciate you hanging out with me for this long and watching. I want to say thank you again to Trevor for partnering with me on this video. Be sure to check them out down below. Y'all, I absolutely love them, and I think you will too. And if you could drop some little sofas off in the comment section for myself and whoosh, Rosco in spirit, so that we can sit there and talk about Wade, Sarah, all these things we talk about here at the Sofa Squad. And until we meander our way down into the comment section, I'll see y'all soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. Also, if you're looking for merch, be sure to check out my Teespring store. I'll put that up here. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.